there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent. And don't forget to also subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel while you're here. Let's get into it. It wasn't the busiest weekend of college basketball. Only one ranked team played Saturday. Only 4 ranked teams played Sunday. But it was still a great weekend for a couple of programs that we've talked about a lot on the podcast over the past year or so. Great weekend for Villanova. Great weekend for FAU. And that's where I want to start. Both programs entered the season with high expectations. FAU was 10th in the preseason AP Top 25 poll. Villanova, number 22 after a disappointing year one under Kyle Neptune. Then both went out early this season and lost as heavy favorites to unranked opponents. FAU lost its third game to Bryant. Villanova lost its third game to Penn. Then both bounced back impressively. FAU beat Butler, A&M, and Virginia Tech to win the ESPN Events Invitational. Blasted Virginia Tech 84-50 on Sunday, one day after Virginia Tech handed Iowa State its first loss of the season. Meantime, Villanova won the battle for Atlantis by beating Texas Tech, North Carolina, and Memphis. Blasted Memphis 79-63 in the title game that the Wildcats actually led at one point by 35. Deadleg, that's a long setup. I apologize, but how pleased should Villanova fans and FAU fans be with the way their teams bounce back from rough losses by beating multiple quality opponents to win prominent in-season tournaments?
This was the only place to start on this Sunday episode. And if you're watching live, you've got the poll question up. Which team do you trust more moving forward, FAU or Villanova? We'll circle back with those results later in the show. I think I would say FAU at this point, but I want to start with Nova. You use the exact same adjective that I did in my notes here. Blasted Memphis 79-63. For Villanova to get past them and make it that definitive, I thought was pretty important. So I'll open on Nova and then toss it to you before we get to FAU. I think that Villanova has responded fairly brilliantly to the loss against Penn because they not just won the battle for Atlantis, they also had the destruction of Maryland. They have held their past 4 opponents to 63.3 points in that stretch, kept their opponents shooting under 50% from the field, and they've gotten good balance. Like, there are 4 guys that they need to be the guys that can guide the ship have stepped up and are averaging. Justin Moore, 15.6 per game. Eric Dixon, even with his career best a couple nights ago, he's at 14 a game. TJ Bamba, the transfer from Washington State, he's at 10.1. Tyler Burton, the transfer from Richmond, he's at 10 points a game. I think all 4 of those guys need to be in double-digit land from a scoring perspective to give Villanova an actual shot at playing up to preseason hype. And preseason hype is top 20 level kind of team, vying for top 3 status in the Big East and getting back into the conversation where you are expected to have a healthy NCAA tournament seed and make it at least to the second weekend in the tournament. The reason why I would be encouraged if I'm a Villanova fan is if you look at their wins right now, GP, 5 of the 6 have been beatdowns, absolute beatdowns. They are showing up and making statements. The only one where they had to squeak by UNC and OT in the second game of Battle for Atlantis, but otherwise, they've been good so far. Now, it is going to be a journey because they've got St. Joe's. They got a Big 5 game coming up. They've got at K-State. They're home versus a good UCLA team, and then they're at Creighton for the next 4. So if you're a Villanova fan, you're probably feeling pretty good, but you're at least aware of the fact that the schedule is not exactly lightening up moving forward, and there's no guarantee that Villanova gets out of that better than 2-2. It can, maybe it should, but it's actually going to get pretty bumpy here over the next couple of weeks as you have finals in addition to a lot of other stuff. But they've steadied themselves and are certainly a top 25 team. What are your impressions on Nova, and where do you have the Wildcats ranked as we prepare to wrap up Sunday night?
Well, first, let me ask you this. If you were Kyle Neptune and somebody offered you 3-1 over the next 4, you'd take it like that?
And 3-1 or chance going 4-0, you take 3-1 with that schedule, in my opinion, yes.
Yeah, you take although they should probably, I don't know, like clearly favored over St. Joe's. Let's just look at the KenPom projections. That'll give us an idea of what we're looking at with
It's 2 road games in there, though. I would take 3-1 with 2 road games.
Yeah, so projected as a 15-point favorite over St. Joe's, as a slight 2-point favorite on the road at Kansas State, 6-point favorite at home over UCLA, 3-point underdog on the road against Creighton. So only technically, according to KenPom, going to be an underdog, at least based on those projections, in one of the next 4. But I would take 3-1 and be thrilled. I'd take 3-1. I would sacrifice the opportunity to go 4-0 if you'd promise me 3-1. I've got Villanova up to 17th in the top 25. And when I had dropped them out, obviously, after the loss to Penn. But when they bounced back, and I'm glad you mentioned that, they didn't just bounce back with the battle for Atlantis. Before that, trashed Maryland. And so it's only year 2 and it's only early in year 2, but I do think it was fair for Villanova fans to start wondering, like, all right, where are we going with this thing? Because last season was a disappointment, and there are reasons that can explain why. Justin Moore didn't play till deep into the season. They had injury issues. It just never clicked. Even when Justin Moore got back, and you were waiting for it to take, it never really took off. They were just an average basketball team all season long, and then you open this season, third game, with a loss to Penn. And as I had noted in the top 25 and 1, the morning after that loss, Cal Neptune had now lost 5 times to sub 100 KenPom teams in his first 37 games as head coach at Villanova. Jay Wright had only lost 2 times to sub 100 KenPom teams, like in the last 300 and something games that he coached at Villanova. So clearly they were taking losses under Cal last season and then this season against Penn that they just hadn't taken regularly or often at all under Jay Wright. And that's reason to wonder, like, okay, I understand why we made this hire, but did we get it right? And so for Cal to bounce back from that, and, we'll see where it goes. But I think if you're a Villanova fan, you feel just a lot better about everything, knowing that, okay, we're going to be back in the AP poll. We've won a tournament that had other really good teams in it, like Arkansas, North Carolina, Memphis. Blasted a Memphis team everybody was falling in love with. If I'm Cal Neptune, I feel like I've stabilized this thing a little bit. And if I'm a Villanova fan, I feel a little better about where this Cal Neptune thing might be heading than I did, say, 2 weeks ago.
We'll see where both those team seasons go, because Memphis, on balance, overall, the game wasn't good for them there, but the trip, all things considered, you had some good stuff if you're Memphis. I wonder how those team seasons will splinter off in different directions, or for better, for worse, or maybe neither. But damn,
well, one's about to play in the Big East and one's about to play in the AAC.
Correct. And I watching that game, I was certainly hoping for something really competitive. And I had, on the show, I picked Memphis to win the battle for Atlantis. So I was curious to see if it was going to be able to get up for the third time in 3 days. And it was a laugher from 10 minutes in. It
looked like Memphis thought they won a championship on Friday.
It was startling to see. I mean, Nova just ran him out of the gym. So good on Nova. And it's the kind of win, frankly, like Jay Wright was there a couple of years ago. You expect Villanova to put on that kind of performance. This is really important for Neptune, as you just said, with his tenure there, I think, for that locker room and for that fan base. But FAU, that's the parallel, GP, because you had 2 programs, preseason hype, as you mentioned before, and FAU losing to Bryant, maybe even more of an eye-opener than a Big 5 loss for Villanova.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's Bryant, and they just promoted a coach earlier to win the ESPN Events Invitational, and to do so, Butler, A&M, Virginia Tech, so 3 power conference teams did it, averaging 90.3 points per game. So I'm feeling good, obviously, about both these teams, but to our poll question, I would lean FAU just a little bit more. Just mentioned Memphis because of conference affiliation, and FAU will take losses in league play, and it's got more coming in non-con, and they got good games still remaining on the schedule. I would expect them to lose at least 1 more game before they get to American Athletic Conference play there, but I thought this was an important weekend for the program now, and kind of big picture. This was only the second, it's a minor thing, but this stuff matters to programs. It's only the second time FAU's ever won an MTE in the regular season. They get that done, and they had a 19-0 run from the end of the first half, and it bled into the second half against Virginia Tech. It was just as much of a laugher as Villanova's title game win that it was able to pull off there. Elijah Martin, who was dealing with a stress fracture, GP, he may well still be dealing with that, because stress fractures are funky injuries, and they can be really debilitating, kind of slow killers from a production standpoint. But if he is, it didn't show whatsoever. Elijah Martin, particularly in their Friday game, I guess it was, he was outrageous. He finished averaging 18 and change over the course of 3 games, hit 10 3-pointers. He is FAU's best player. He showed it. But overall, FAU shooting has gotten back to where it needs to be. I'll send it back on over to you. I just wanted to bring this up because I was looking at it before. So right now, as they are 6 games into the season, Parrish, Janelle Davis shooting, and again, 6 games, I get it, but still, he's hitting 52% of his 3-pointers. Brian Greenlee, who is like the secret weapon, like Greenlee will sneakily hit some big shots for FAU with regularity. He's at 40% from 3-point range. Jalen Gaffney, 58.3% on 12 attempts this season. Brandon Weatherspoon is at 41.7%. And Elijah Martin right now, who's having a delayed start, he's at 33.3%, and you know that his ceiling is even higher. So a very, very important turn of events here for FAU as it's able to shake off the Bryant loss and then go win an ESPN Events Invitational definitively and with really good offense over 3 power conference teams.
One of the points I'd made about Memphis, I think it holds true with FAU, is like Memphis needed, like if you're Kansas or Baylor or Michigan State, a Big 10 school, a Big 12 school, yes, it'd be awesome to be great in November, December, but it's really important that you're great or, whatever you're going to be in January, February, March. Because you can get away with it in November, December, because it's a lot of bye games typically, and you can't get away with it in January, February, and March because in those leagues you're getting tested, at least once a week, sometimes twice. Whereas with FAU and Memphis, they needed to be better in November, December than they are in January, February, March, because they can be like whatever these teams are going to be. Like let's say Memphis, FAU can have at some point this season are going to be here. Just play along, they need to be here now to win events like this and stack these quality wins. Because when you get into your league, you're not going to have very many opportunities for quality wins. And even if you play at a level below what your best is, you're going to still be able to win most of those games. Like Memphis and FAU don't have to be sharp to beat most schools in the AAC, but they need to be sharp to beat enough quality opponents in November, December to build an at-large resume if they need it. And Memphis was doing that really well up until the Villanova game, and FAU has been doing that really well ever since the Bryant game. And then I imagine those two and somebody else, North Texas, UAB, we'll see, is going to emerge as like a, maybe a bubble type team. But for the most part, that league's bad, and there's a lot of bad teams in it. And I think Memphis and FAU are largely going to roll through it. They'll both take a stupid loss here or there because that's basketball. But I think the hardest stuff for those schools, it's stuff that's happening now or will happen in the next month or so. After that, everything lightens up a bit. But, if I'm an FAU fan, I feel, because this must be tough. You're a Florida Atlantic fan, however many of them there are. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever talked about you ever until last season. And then now people can't stop talking about you, but it's mostly like, they're not as good as their number beside their name, or it was a fluky Final Four. To have to carry that around every day and then lose to Bryant and it just gets, taken up another level. Everybody who was a FAU skeptic can jump on it, and boy, they did. To be able to stabilize it the way they did, and just smash Virginia Tech. Beat them bad.
Yes.
I think you feel real good. Like, is FAU going to go to another Final Four? Who knows? Will they ever really be one of the 5 best teams in the country like a lot of us had, or some of us had them ranked in the preseason? Who knows? But they're good. And they spent 3 days in Orlando, or 3 games in Orlando, really hammering that point home.
Would you, if it's a stock, which one would you buy more moving forward? All things considered, conference affiliation, likelihood to be a higher seed, whatever. Maybe that's how you kind of boil it down. GP, FAU or Nova, which one would you say is more likely to have the better seed on Selection Sunday?
Just the way they treat FAU, I'd say probably Nova.
Okay.
The way they give them last season, a 9.
That was a joke, but yeah.
That was a joke, but that is what they did.
I know.
So are they going to do?
FAU's resume is already like, you get it. You have that kind of season. You get invited to an MT like this, which isn't even like a top 3 MTE this season. But look at what happened. You get 3 power conference wins on a neutral floor. They already got a better non-con resume right now than they had all of last season. Granted, they're going to take more L's here. They still got Illinois, Arizona coming in non-con. Plus, they got Liberty and Charleston. Like, they have other viable mid-majors. Those losses won't be great on the resume if they happen, because those are both actually happening at FAU's gym. But if it comes to seeding, that's a tough one, man. I will still slightly lean FAU. I thought this was a very, very important reinforcement of how good this team is. They kicked those asses all up and down that bracket and going 3-0 in.
Well, let me split hairs a little bit. How about this? We accept this. I think FAU is the safer pick to make the NCAA tournament because they've already built an at-large resume, and they're gonna add some more quality wins, and then they're gonna cruise through their league for the most part. FAU is gonna be fine. Villanova, I think, is gonna be fine, but that's a team that when you could get in the Big East, and it's just like, bam, you just got swept by Creighton. Bam, you just got swept by Marquette. You just got swept by UConn. That won't happen, I don't think. But like, you could just get beat down pretty good in there, and you're looking up and going, man, are we gonna make it? So FAU, safer pick to make the tournament. But if they both make the tournament, I would have Villanova as the higher seeded team.
Okay.
Just based off of the league affiliation and schools from leagues like that tend to get treated better by the selection committee when it comes to seeding than schools that are from the AAC or previously CUSA. If you need a reminder of that, go look at last season's bracket. But I have a pretty good bit of confidence in both teams. I like what I've seen so far. You know who else had a good weekend?
I feel like it was Oklahoma.
The Sooners. I don't have to remind you. We did a bonus episode.
That's right.
Of the summer shoot-around on the Oklahoma Sooners, and they have responded.
That's right.
With a 6-0 start. I've got them in the top 25-1. We'll discuss Oklahoma next. First, a word from our partners.
Join us for Match Day 5 in Miami.
Good to have you with us.
All the way from England, baby! And go inside the Champions League with the most entertaining team in the game. Champions League today. Destination Miami. November 28th and 29th. Streaming on Paramount+.
Oklahoma beat number 23 for now. USC 72-70 this weekend to win the Rady Children's Invitational. Trivia time.
Yeah.
What's Rady Children's?
It's a children's hospital.
In what state?
In California. The games took place in San Diego. I watched the games, GP.
Damn it. I was hoping you didn't.
No. Rest assured, I'll be watching.
Hey, it's the largest children's hospital in the state of California.
Well, and we applaud them for the amazing work they're no doubt doing.
Are you kidding? They have more than 500 beds in that hospital.
There we go. Good on them.
Yeah.
If anything, more MTE should be sponsored by this kind of awareness. No offense to other sponsors. So
I love Children's Hospital. Yes. I love Rady.
All right.
Sooners are 6-0. Wins over Iowa and USC. I've got them 23rd in the top 25-1.
Mm-hmm.
And that bonus episode that we did during the summer shoot-around, I think neither of us were sold. I want to properly represent this. I don't think either of us were sold on Oklahoma as an NCAA tournament team, but we were intrigued at the possibility.
I think that's a fair way of doing it. And congratulations again in retrospect to the lucky bidder who won the Oklahoma bonus episode. One of two bonus episodes, if I remember correctly. The Oklahoma looked good. Where I am right now, do I think Oklahoma is for sure one of the 25, but will wind up as one of the 25 best teams in the country? I can't say with certainty, GP, that's going to be the case. I was a relative seller on Iowa going into the season. I didn't think I would be an NCAA tournament team. I was obviously very high on USC. I am off on the mark so far with that because USC is 4-2. And even though, it's not at full strength, it's got enough where if it's going to be that kind of hype, it should be playing better than it did. Isaiah Collier has not knocked it out of the park so far. But we'll see if they grow into something a little bit more reliable. I want to credit Oklahoma for the job that it did. I watched the entirety of the game against USC, and it was a well-fought battle, but Otega Owe hit a big bucket late to help secure and clinch that game. He had 16. Javen McCollum had 18, and then Milos Uzan, who I mentioned on that shoot-around episode, I'm very in on him. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and he will have big games this season for the Sooners. So good on Porter Moser for getting a start like this so far. Oklahoma, I'm glad you brought him up because they were like the sneaky good winner over the weekend. We'll get to some other results, obviously, in the Whiparound here in a minute. But OU deserves a little bit of credit and a little bit of attention for getting out of a 4-team MTE, winning on back-to-back days. They went on Thanksgiving against Iowa, and then they went and played 24 hours later and won against USC in that same building there. The previous 4 wins aren't notable. They're all bye games. They're all teams that are not good, that are all ranked on the bottom half of KenPom. But to get these 2 wins on neutral floors is important. OU will drift off a little bit off the radar here. They have 1 notable game, 2 notable games in the next couple of weeks, but they don't play another one for more than a week. But so far, good. And I wouldn't blame you for putting them in your top 25-1. I think they probably just have enough overall to at least be included. Question is, will they get into the rankings when the Monday AP Top 25 refreshes? We'll have to wait and see.
They should. OU right now, 22nd at Evan Mia, 24th at Ken Palm, only 41st at Torvik. But if you remove all preseason bias, have I taught you how to do that?
I taught you how to do that.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
They're eighth in the country.
Eighth, really?
If you remove all preseason bias.
Ups. Okay.
By the way,
interesting.
Our Big 12 coaches, everybody who tweets me about the top 25 and 1 can't take my list seriously. You know who you should be
that, by the way, everyone.
Dude, every morning. My mentions.
You know what? I'm good for at least one a week. I'm going to try and live up to
every single morning. My mentions, and then here's what happens. Now somebody else jumps in because they're not in on the bit.
Correct.
And it's like, what's wrong with the list? And be specific, please.
I'm going to need a novella on your thoughts on this Tuesday edition. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, somebody last night. This was a funny one. I was just sitting around last night. I think we went to dinner. Whatever. I'm just scrolling my phone because, of course, that's what you should be doing at dinner.
Yeah. Well done. Well done on your behalf.
It's scrolling your phone.
I've seen that move before, by the way.
Somebody sent me. Somebody tweeted me, and it was something along the lines of, "Hey, GP, your mom called. She wants her stem cells back." I was like, "They're coming for my stem cells?" over the top 25 and 1.
There we go. That's pretty harsh.
Man, this fellow was upset with me. All right. Here's who you should be tweeting if you really want to expose people who don't know how to rank things properly.
Yeah.
Big 12 coaches.
I think on this thought, as you continue this, I think you need to tweet out the handle of every Big 12 coach that's on Twitter and then direct people to all those.
I'm gonna tweet
I'm not kidding. I want you to do this.
Preseason Big 12 poll, and it'll say, "Have you guys seen this?" And then Big 12 preseason poll, and then it's like at scott.drew@baylor.edu or whatever his email address is.
No, I'm saying their social media handle. Oh gosh, what a boomer moment for you. I'm saying their social media handles. Direct them on Twitter. When they're attacking you, should be like, "Hey, go after Porter Moser, OU, or et cetera, et cetera."
Okay, and then it's like, yeah. These are the guys who created a list you can't take seriously. Take their stem cells because, you ready for this? Big 12 coaches picked Oklahoma 12th, BYU 13th.
Yeah.
In the 14-school Big 12 in the preseason. You remove preseason bias at barttorvik.com. BYU is currently 4th in the country, and Oklahoma is 8th in the country. They rank 2nd and 3rd in the Big 12 right now behind only Houston. And by the way, Cincinnati is number 18 in the country if you remove preseason bias at Bart Torvik. So the teams that the Big 12 coaches, and I want to be clear, I'm not even saying they were wrong. I'm just saying this is interesting. Exactly. The teams that they were wrong. The teams that the Big 12 coaches picked 11th, 12th, and 13th in the Big 12 are currently 4th, 8th, and 18th in the nation, according to barttorvik.com, preseason bias free. That's a list you can't take seriously. That Big 12 coaches preseason poll.
BYU will be part of the season premiere of Court Report. I'm talking with Mark Pope in about an hour and a half from right now. So we'll have more Cougs coverage at cbssports.com. Keep an eye on that.
Okay, you ready for this?
Okay.
Oklahoma, BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you believe in more? Do you believe in both? Right now, Oklahoma and BYU, they were picked again 12th and 13th in the Big 12. This is where I'm setting the bar.
Yeah.
They're in the NCAA tournament.
That's actually a really tough one. I would say I think I would lean OU because I'm that much of a Uzan fan. That's it, but it's narrow, and we'll have to wait and see on that. The resume so far, again, we're 3 weeks into the season here, people. BYU's got a home win that was a clear-cut W over San Diego State. I want to say, I'm pretty sure that was our first Final Four and 1. So they won that game at home, and then they've also beaten. I mean, they just won their MTE. They beat Arizona State, and then NC State. I would narrowly pick Oklahoma to answer your question. Yeah, narrowly. But hey, if this is what it's going to be, and we'll see if it's going to be like this in the Big 12. Come on, man. I mean, the league is off to a Baylor's awesome. Houston's awesome. Kansas is Kansas. Texas looks good. We are recording this before A&M Iowa State, but we'll see on that. Even still, Iowa State should be a factor as well. There's a lot up and down throughout this league. So even though it expanded, it's setting itself up to be the best league in the country yet again.
Well, how about this? You were the best league in the country, all right? Then you add 4 schools, and 3 of those schools are now in the top 20 at barthorvik.com when you remove preseason bias. And Houston, I believe, is number 1.
Yeah, it's big. Now you do have a couple at the bottom right now. Like we'll see what K-State's taking a step back this season, probably. West Virginia in the offseason was expected to be top 30 level-ish. It's sub 500 as we record this podcast, and Oklahoma State has been a disappointment so far. So you are going to have some teams that are going to, be a little bit of dead weight there, but the additions have been good so far, and I would qualify BYU as one of the biggest surprises in the country, which frankly is why I'm going to talk to Mark Pope and write about it for the site/app later for this week.
You're going to ask him about more of us?
I can bring it up, but it's not going to be part of the coverage in the court report.
I mean, Jesus Christ, you're going to write a 28-minute read. You can't fit more of us in there somewhere?
It'll be cruising under 13, 14 minutes, I promise you. I got an issue with the algorithm, okay? Because I've had multiple people tell me they're reading this thing, and it says like a 12-minute read, and they're like, Norlander, I got this done in 6 minutes. Okay, I got a problem with the
if that's true, I have no idea if it's true.
It is true. It absolutely is true. Yes.
Well, then we should fix that because that can be a deterrent to people reading, can it?
I would agree. And it's not unique to our site. I've encountered this elsewhere on the internet where I'll say this read will take, 10 minutes, and I read it. I'm like, I'm done in 6. I'm like, and I'm not like speed reading. Like I'm going in.
I know, but if this happens to me all the time, and I'm not even joking.
Every time you bring up one of my stories, I'm well aware.
That's right. I go, ooh, man, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Click, 28-minute read. I'm like, man, I ain't got that kind of time, buddy. Jesus Christ, it ain't that interesting. It's not that interesting. I need a cool, buddy. Give me 800 words, 3-minute read. Tell me everything I need to know in 4 minutes.
Well, the court report is a buffet, if you will, of college basketball.
I know, and that's exactly why more of us got to be in there somewhere. Asked about the more of us movement, Mark Pope said. And then
I'm sure the head coach at BYU is going to be all too eager to go on the record about the more of us than them movement. I'm sure he's going to be all too excited to really get
grain of anonymity.
Yeah.
And then it will be a source told CBS Sports that Mark Pope, however he feels, I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you know how that goes.
Please do. Up next for Oklahoma, back to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Thursday they get Pine Bluff. That shouldn't be a problem.
Shouldn't.
December 5th, Providence at home. Kim English coming back to Oklahoma, which he has no affiliation with whatsoever.
Okay.
I was trying to make that work.
He played at Missouri.
He did play in Missouri. It seemed like there had to be a connection there somewhere, but I don't think that there is. And then Arkansas on a neutral December 9th. So bye game and then 2 legitimate challenges.
Yes.
Off to a great start, Oklahoma. I'm happy for him. And Otega Oweh, hey, breakout candidate. Breakout candidate?
Potentially, yes. I mean, the entire team is a breakout candidate. So
average 4.8 points as a freshman. Now he's averaging 15 points as a sophomore, shooting 66.1% from the field. He's a breakout candidate.
Last time OU was 6-0, a dude named Buddy Hield was wearing Oklahoma threads. So good signs for you guys in Norman. You want a little weekend whip around action here?
Whip me around.
All right, let's whip around here a little bit. Baylor beat Florida 95-91 in the NIT season tip-off to secure its 5th regular season MTE title in the last 6 years for Scott Drew's program. Shouts to Ray J. Dennis. He was on point, had a season-high 24 points. Jacoby Walter was pinned to the bench, but it didn't seem to matter. Good effort from Florida, but Baylor is now 15-1 in its past 16 neutral site games in the regular season, and Ray J. Dennis won tournament MVP. Also, Jalen Bridges, I mean, he hit what? He had 5 assists, had 3 3-pointers. He's doing quite well for himself and is like, I don't even want to call him a role player. Just Baylor's got so much going for him, which is a really, really good sign. Down in the Bahamas, even without Cormac Ryan, Carolina recovered to beat Arkansas 87-72. Tremont Mark went down at the end of that game, had to be stretchered off. Fortunately, afterward, Eric Musselman said that he was okay. Mark had an outstanding game. He was basically all Arkansas had to even try and make it competitive. He had 34.
Just real quick on that. I don't mean to interrupt, but like I
Yeah.
had because of where I live, I've got a lot of friends who are Arkansas fans, and they're immediately like, "Oh my God, he got what are you hearing? How bad is it?" And I said, I don't know, but the point I'm trying to make is sometimes it is very precautionary when you see somebody carried off of a court like that. Mm-hmm. It does. So it shouldn't be too. It makes sense that you could cart somebody off and then immediately, 20 minutes later, be comfortable saying he's fine. Because when those trainers get out there, if there's anything, it's like a liability to start moving people around or asking them to get up or seeing if I can help you up. It's just like, okay, let's just cart you off so that if this ever goes to a bad place, we followed protocols for the lawsuit. And so it appears that something under that umbrella is what happened here. Continue.
No, hopefully he's good to go. We'll get to more on Arkansas later in the week. They play Duke on Wednesday. So we'll talk Hogs as we set up that game. RJ Davis had 30. Carolina had every single possible response you could ask for. So a nice little recovery for UNC. Carolina fans are no doubt happy about that. We're kind of bouncing all around the weekend, but we can get to what happened here on Sunday. Louisville dodged catastrophe against New Mexico State. Yes, catastrophe. It won in overtime. I did watch this game. I'm like, FAU was a blowout. I think that game actually had wrapped at that point. Keeping an eye on just an atrocious 1 p.m. NFL slate, by the way. And so here's Louisville looking like it's going to lose a game to a program which has a proud history for its level, except for last season when it literally canceled its season. Borderline unprecedented as far as I can tell in the history of men's Division I basketball for the reasons that it had to literally stop playing basketball. New Mexico State had a chance to win it with 1.5 seconds to go. They had a big guy who they called it a block. It actually looked like a charge in that moment, whatever. Ball didn't lie, missed them both. New Mexico State had terrible foul issues. They had 4 dudes on the court as this game ended. Louisville wound up winning.
Louisville barely beat a team that only had 4 guys on the court and who just quit the whole season last season.
If Louisville that's what I'm saying. If it had lost to a team with 4 dudes on the court after all this, then we probably would have had to lead the podcast with it. Right? Am I wrong?
I mean, my God. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. If you're Kenny Payne, and it's pretty clear at this point, this is what they are. They're good enough to barely beat a New Mexico State program that shut down last season and had to finish a game today with 4 players. They're good enough to barely beat that. That's what they are. How do you get up and go to work every day without
You're a competitor.
I know, but what
do you expect him to do?
I don't know. I don't know. I would just feel defeated every single day. Like, my God, we are it's not like, well, we've been bad but we're getting better, or we've been bad and but it was just a small sample size. It's like from the moment I took this thing over, it's been a disaster, and we just barely beat a team with 4 players. I mean, and there's no indication there's going to be a year 3 of this. That's the saddest situation in college basketball right now. I don't think it's close.
They're 500 for the first time since the morning of February 5th, 2021.
Yeah, run through it. Run through it. Tell me their 500 record.
They're 3-3.
Oh yeah, I know. Give me the wins and the losses.
Or it's 2022. The wins. Oh, this year. Okay. The wins over UMBC, 94-93. Coppin State rolled them, 61-41. They just beat New Mexico State, 90-84 in overtime. Losses to Chattanooga by 10. Hey. Texas by 1 and Indiana by 8 on a neutral floor. Rumors that, by the way, this is the second time this has happened to us this season. Let me bring this up. Rumors that Indiana was losing at halftime to Harvard as we're recording this podcast right now.
It's true. Right now, the second best team in Indiana, Butler, is up 65-46 on Boise State. So killing Boise State. That's the second best team in the state of Indiana. And the third best team in the state of Indiana for now, because Indiana State's right there. I mean, right there, buddy. But for now, it is the Indiana Hoosiers, and they are down 40-39 to Harvard at the half.
Did we make a mistake and hit the record button maybe about 40 minutes too early on this show right now?
Baby, I'll just sit here until this game's over if you want to. Let's just wait it out. You got any? What'd you guys do this weekend? Just tell me a story.
Oh boy.
We'll burn some time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Indiana, get it together here. So that was Louisville disaster. Speaking of disaster, Louisville plays, we'll get to DePaul here right now. So Louisville plays at DePaul Saturday, December 9th. Be there, people.
They're both going to lose.
Louisville
They're both going to lose.
DePaul. If Paris doesn't put that in the Final Four and 1, it's my and 1 game.
Buddy, we'll do it.
A lock. DePaul is 1-5. It lost at home on Saturday to Northern Illinois. And this is Tony Stubblefield's 3rd season. It's just not working. It hasn't been working in general for DePaul over the past 2 decades. In our season, our season premiere episode, of whatever you want to call it, that first Sunday night show 3 weeks ago, we did. What was my question to you? It was something like, will we have a power conference coaching change by February 1? I think we both said yes with no real. Both said yes, thinking it might be Louisville. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be DePaul.
Well, I said yes based on somebody's going to be in a police report. Or at least that's on the list of. I actually don't predict somebody's going to end up in a police report, but that's among the reasons that you could get an in-season coaching change. I will say, listen, I don't think it seems unlikely Tony Stubblefield is going to get a year 4. Seems unlikely Kenny Payne's going to get a year 3 at Louisville. By the way, DePaul would be a 1-point favorite according to KenPom over Louisville in that game. Let me ask you this,
okay?
Because I am a big I'm ready. I have seen enough. I don't think Kenny Payne should continue as the coach at Louisville next season. I don't have any need to do it now or next month or in February or anytime. What do you actually gain by firing a coach early? What can you think of an example? I don't mean to catch you off guard, but you fired your coach midseason in college basketball because obviously things were bad and then things got good. Does that ever happen? I know it happens in baseball sometimes and in the NFL sometimes. And does it ever happen in college basketball? I don't remember it ever happening.
If anyone
it doesn't mean it hadn't. I just can't recall.
Someone in the chat wants to pick us up on this. The reasons that happens, sometimes, not all the time, is there is enough fan base revolt, like outright revolt, where it gets untenable for an AD in that environment to do their job on a day-to-day basis. And then also you have very influential people at the booster level or board of directors level at a given university where they just can't take it anymore. And they'll just say, just have someone else coach the team, at least give fans a tangible material reason to show that we are indeed making a change, moving on. And why continue to drag this out? Sometimes it could be done to spare a coach in that kind of specific instance.
Oh, I could totally get why a coach might want to do it.
I mean, literally at Louisville, the last time this happened with Chris Mack, which is crazy to think about. And believe me, we didn't have any intentions of going a little bit long on Louisville here. But remember, Mack and the administration came to essentially an agreement. Now, technically, he was fired because he got more money. You're either resign or you're fired or you retire. It's one of those. So technically, Mack was fired, but as I understand it, he was the one that really was as much of a catalyst to instigate that when it came time to really put everything down on the table.
Mark Turgeon at Maryland, same thing.
Turgeon absolutely instigated his exit out of Maryland, and that's another recent example of when this happened. And
Andy Kennedy at Ole Miss, I believe, was going to be allowed to coach out the season, and he reached a point where he said, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, so there are a number of factors for the reasons that happen. One reason that isn't a major reason as far as I'm concerned, but ADs will use it as a public-facing reason, is it allows them to get a quote-unquote head start on a national search for a replacement. Any AD worth their salt is already doing plenty of this work behind the scenes. It would be derelict of the duty of Josh Harrod, the current Louisville athletic director, if he has not already started to make calls and do that diligence already.
But every time we bring up Louisville, somebody tags him on Twitter to our podcast or something.
Where it is though. So it's to that exact point. Like, Kenny Payne holds a very distinct prideful place in the history of that program, and so. Yeah, they're in a very, very tough spot, and understandably so, the fan base right now, and I don't want to be a broken record on this, but you did just barely beat a team that had 4 players left on the floor at home.
Come on, man.
After the way the Mac stuff ended, And it's such a weird, like, what could have been. Like, they were on pace to be a good seed in the tournament in 2020. Then we didn't have an NCAA tournament. Like, who the hell knows? Like, what if they make the tournament, goes to Sweet 16, things are just better than.
Oh, you ready for this? If we had the tournament in 2020, this could be different. How about this? And I understood it got bad and Chris was ready to get out of there and whatever. If everybody could have just taken a breath and said, hey, take a breath.
I know, easy to say now, but my good, that's not where we were.
No, I know, but here's my point.
Okay.
If they would have done it, how much better off would Louisville basketball be today?
It's hard to imagine how it couldn't be, but even still, better off might have been, instead of 4-28 last season, maybe it's, a 12-win team. It's hard to see. Maybe a 15.
Chris Mack, but Chris Mack having that is Chris. This is.
There's extortion. How easily, how quickly you forget everything that's the whole thing about Louisville, man. I mean, go back to Patino. There's weird, weird juju.
Chris Mack was one of the best coaches in America, and then he just wasn't. No, or it just went, like, sometimes it just gets sideways on you, and if you don't have time to get it back, then you don't get it back. But I haven't always endorsed, like, hey, just relax. But I really do think sometimes if everybody could just relax, this thing will work itself out. But everybody gets so worked up, and it's like, we got to make a coaching change. The guy was good enough to get your job. If you would have, and Chris played a role in this as well. But I refuse to believe that if, for whatever, let's just say that Louisville was having financial problems, and they just said, hey, we can't afford to fire you right now. You got to keep coaching. They'd be better off today. Way better off.
Well, we'll see where we can get moving here on Louisville. But between Louisville and DePaul, those are the two power conference jobs clearly at the most risk of opening before we get out of the season. Maybe before we get out of 2023. Don't wish it upon anyone. But hey, again, factually, statistically, Louisville is at 500 for the first time.
Well, congratulations to them.
2 years. There we are. Continuing with the whip-around and staying in the Big East, speaking of DePaul, Tristan Newton had a triple-double for UConn over the weekend. He had 15 points, personal best 13 assists, and 10 rebounds against Manhattan. He now has 3 triple-doubles as a UConn Husky, previously notching them against Buffalo and Marquette. That is a program record. There has never been a Husky with 3 triple-doubles. Trivia time! Who is the UConn Husky who had 2, and so therefore no longer is a shared record holder in men's basketball program history? 2 triple-doubles.
Two triple-doubles?
Yep. Newton had 2, and this other guy had 2.
Yeah.
Give me it.
Oh, I know. It was
an NBA pick. I think was an NBA pick.
Shabazz Napier.
Shabazz Napier was indeed correct. I know LeBron wanted Shabazz on the team. Did they draft him or did they pick him up?
No, I think they did draft him.
He was drafted first round, 24th overall. There we go, Shabazz. Good on you. Shabazz Napier right now is playing in the Serbian League. I hope he's doing great.
There he is.
After the game, Dan Hurley took to the podium. I think Nana's got this ready. Here's what Hurley, give us something weekly if you could. Here's what Hurley said about Tristan Newton after his record-setting triple-double performance.
Sports used to be about the champions. We used to celebrate the champions more. And now this is a champion that is averaging, what's he getting, 18 a game, triple-doubles. He should be talked about as one of the best guards in the country. But, people that don't watch the games, that just watch TikTok highlights, are the ones judging. They don't know shit.
Let's go. More profanity, please. Just look casual, off the cuff. That is Hurley when you're talking to him, on background, off the record. Bring more of that energy. I like that. By the way, Newton right now, 15.3 points. These are his averages. 15.3 points, 7.8 rebounds, 6.8 assists. He's shooting almost 47% from the field. And his defense is also up this season overall across the board, but statistically he's at 1.8 steals. So we don't have to go too deep on the Huskies right now, but I did want to ask you, do you think that when we get to the end of the season, it's going to be Tristan Newton and not Donovan Clingan that is not clearly, but just that will grow into the team's MVP? Because at this point in the season, it's undeniable, and I agree with Hurley's point. because Newton's not super athletic. He's not throwing down these dunks. He's not the guy off in the layup line getting off the bus. So you're like, whoa. He's been a bit undervalued. He's not undervalued by the fan base in that program, but I think nationally he's a bit undervalued. I think it's on people like us, frankly, on these podcasts or how we write, to give him a bit more of his due. And I think there's a good chance that he will actually wind up being the team's most important player. Do you agree?
I don't know. I mean, it could be Alex Karabin.
It could be. Karabin's right there as well, but Newton's the distributor, and I don't know right now if there might well be. I don't know. Again, we're just 3 weeks into the season. Is there a player in the country that's averaging at least 15 points, 7.5 boards, and 6.5 assists in the country? It might just be Newton. I don't know.
And Cam Spencer's our leading scorer right now. It could be any number of guys.
It's a good sign for the Huskies.
But I mean, I don't know. I like TikTok.
Okay. I'm not on TikTok, so I know Dan Hurley wasn't talking about me. He was probably talking about you. In fact, I know that's he sent the message. It's exactly what it was.
Boy, TikTok's been busy this weekend.
Has it?
Man, if you ain't done a Josh Giddey search on TikTok, buddy.
Cam Spencer, Alex Karabin.
That'll sure bring up some results.
Donovan Clingan are the Huskies, all averaging double digits. Clingan is fifth, 12.7 points per game. Cam Spencer's GP mentioned 16.2 points per game. Right now, Newton is sixth in KenPom Player of the Year algorithm. Edey is 1, Dickinson is 2, Jaden Ledee at San Diego State is 3, Filipowski of Duke is 4, Wade Taylor the 4th is 5th, and then Tristan Newton is 6th per KenPom's Player of the Year algorithm. Just a couple more, then we can move on to the final segment. I want to give a shout out to LaSalle coach Fran Dunphy. He got win number 600 by beating Coppin State on Sunday. Good on
Fran Dunphy.
Love Fran Dunphy. Great dude. Nada, you got this photo. Devin Askew was the coolest looking dude on the court this weekend. He apparently got hit in the eye, which is unfortunate. This is the second time Cal basketball has managed to inject itself unwittingly into our show, despite not being a good team. There's a picture. I don't know if Nada has this or not. If not, he got hit in the eye. He's wearing legit shades on the floor while he's playing. I say just rock it out for the rest of the season. Did you see the picture, GP, or not?
I have not seen it, no.
He's not seen the picture. I sent it to Nada. He might not have it queued up or not. But Devin Askew, if you can do this look for the rest of the day, for the rest of the season, here it is. I say you rock this. Healthy eye or not. Look at this. Badass. Come on. Now, he needed it for apparently health reasons, but the only other player I can remember do this, Quaddy Green, this happened to him at Kentucky. In terms of specifically wearing like shades. But even those are straight up like New Age Oakleys. Let's go.
Yeah, he looks like a shortstop.
He does. That's a great way of putting it. That's exactly what he looks like. You know what? Askew's going in the no context preview there.
He looks like Francisco Lindor. Like a tall Francisco Lindor.
There we go. Okay. All right. Francisco Lindor. All right. I like it. And then finally, shouts to for VCU for getting a win over its former coach Mike Rhodes. Penn State lost and went 0-3 in the ESPN Events Invitational. And then how about Brian Wardle? We've been talking about teams off to a good start. Bradley is 6-0 to start this season. 3 top 100 wins. But on Sunday, what's our guy doing after getting off to a 6-0 start? He's getting some honeydews done. 6-0, big time snow. If you caught the Kansas State Iowa State game in football, which I didn't realize until this year, and apologies if I'm a decade behind. That's called Farmageddon, which is a top 3 football rivalry nickname. Farmageddon, tremendous. So in that part of the country, this is obviously Peoria, Illinois. Brian Wardle out there getting some shoveling done. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see he's got that driveway painted. That's a basketball court. That's a 3-point line. Getting it done. Brian Wardle, shouts to you and Bradley. The Valley's off to a good start, and that weekend whip around. I've
never shoveled snow.
No one is surprised by hearing this.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, and I've never paid somebody to shovel snow. Like in the South, if it snows, we just stay at home until it melts.
I will shovel snow depending on snowfall anytime for anywhere between 5 to 7 times a season. Yeah. My driveway is not, it's just small enough to not make it worth it to get a snowblower. But it's also, when I got to shovel it, it can be a real pain.
How much a good snowblower go for these days?
That's a good question. I don't know. More than I probably want to pay, though.
Yeah. I was reading about inflation.
Yeah. It's a problem. Yeah. Dude, my 2020 Honda Civic, 1.6 liter, 2.0 turbo, 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 buddy went to get a Christmas tree. We can move on, but my buddy went to get a Christmas tree that he had to brief. This was yesterday. I was calling him on something else, and he was like, "Hey, I'm on my way. I got to go to one of these farms and do what we do up here in Connecticut, I guess." And he said they had to pre-book to cut their tree down. So you can't even show up and say, "I want to cut a tree." You got to pre-book $125 to cut your own tree. Is it me or is this an outrage?
I don't know.
This is an $125 to go. You got to pre-book. You can't even show up the day of. You got to go there, and then you're getting down on hands and knees. And how about this? Have you ever cut down your own Christmas tree? Of course, there's no shot you had. I have as recently as last year. You are in there, and I mean in there. And I got the kids. Hey, Dad, you gonna be almost done? Shut the hell up, man. I got to get through this thing. $125 for a Christmas tree? It's ridiculous. Anything in the triple digits is outrageous. I would say anything north of 80 shouldn't be illegal, but that's where we are.
It's hard out there, man.
That's crazy, man. They've always been growing the trees. They've always been there. They're going to continue to be there. You're going to tell me inflation is 125? No, they know what they're doing. Buddy, they know what they're doing.
I ordered Uber Eats Taco Bell this weekend because that's healthy.
So we're talking about the same thing here. Okay.
Yeah, but when I go to a drive-through, I don't look at prices. I just order what I want, and then they tell me, and then I give them a card, and that's the way we do that.
Of course.
All right. I don't have any concept of what this stuff costs. But on Uber Eats, like the price is right next to everything. I got charged $6.80 for a cheesy gordita crunch. $6.80. Is that what a cheesy gordita crunch costs these days?
Better not, but also this is a major misstep by you because Taco Bell, that is not Uber Eats material. And this is, you're saying, talking to a guy who hasn't had Taco Bell 15 years probably, but that stuff ceases to be worthy of biting into within 4 minutes of being served to you. That is gotta get it at the establishment, drive through and eat it right away. You got a 20-minute delay with this Taco Bell situation. That's a misplay by you.
Buddy, it was good. But I couldn't believe they charging that for cheesy gordita crunches these days.
I'm wondering what your state of mind was when you ordered this. That might be the determination on whether it was actually good.
I was just hungry.
Okay.
I was just starving to death.
Okay.
I've never cut down my own tree. That seems like that'd be difficult.
Yeah. It's a pain. You show up, at least the places we've gone to here in Connecticut. You show up. Thankfully, they provide you. I'm just waiting for it's $10 to use our sauce. I'm just waiting for that to be the next.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah, that's coming. Oh, you want to use the sauce? Here's $10. I'm just waiting for that. And then you go and you pick out a tree and then you cut it down yourself and 125. Place we go to isn't 125. But the place that my buddy went to, it's one of the more well-known tree farms in Connecticut. It's an outrage.
It's hard out there, man.
Someone needs to say something.
It's time for somebody to speak up. We should rope Dan Hurley in on this.
There's someone in the chat who has mentioned the exact place that they went to and saying that, and I won't say it by name here, but they said they used to get their trees for $20. $20.
$20.
Let's preview the rest of the week.
Hey, there ain't much. Hey, give me a word from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
That's where we're going to do it now. I'm not even going to be setting anything up. I'm just going to like if you spilt a glass of tea in your kitchen and you were like, hey, throw me the towel, like abruptly. That's the way I'm going to start treating word from our partners. It'll just be like
that seems like a foolproof way of moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nada's always going to have to be on his toes. You never know when it's coming. You never know. I could get to it at any second. There ain't much going on over the next couple of days. I wish there were, but they didn't put me in charge of the schedule. On Monday, Tristan Newton's playing on CBS Sports Network.
Well, UConn's going to set the record, almost certainly.
New Hampshire is the opponent.
Most consecutive double-digit wins over non-conference opponents, so we'll get that done. There is a game of semi-note, though, before we get to Tuesday. Feels like a heavy non-con game, GP. You know what that one is?
Is this Georgia Tech?
No. You're a funny guy. It is not Georgia Tech.
I saw a game. Georgia Tech plays at some point over the next couple of days, and it was something that kind of looked kind of interesting, but not that interesting.
No, I'd say this one feels like a heavy non-conference game for these teams. Is potential.
All right, let me scroll it, and I'll see if I can identify it.
I think you will identify it.
Okay, I'm scrolling. Let me see if I can identify something.
As he scrolls,
I ain't seen it yet.
I'm gonna put out there that if I were to run for president, a cap on Christmas trees at $75, no matter the size.
Hey, here's a thought. Never mind. It's just stupid. Okay. Is it Utah St. Mary's?
It is Utah St. Mary's. So Utah's 3-2. St. Mary's is 3-3. Utah went 1-2 in Charleston, has dropped 2 straight to Houston and St. John. St. Mary's dropped 3 straight, but rebounded recently over the weekend with an 89-55 pasting of Davidson there. So this is a rare non-conference home opportunity for the Gales against a Big Six opponent. They don't get these a ton. It would behoove them to not lose this game at home. Otherwise, their at-large resume is really going to go into the tank. They will be sub 500. Meantime, Utah could really use the boost in winning a road game. So that one actually feels about, I know it's not a ranked matchup, neither team's ranked, but that feels almost as urgent as that kind of game could possibly feel at this point in the calendar. I'd go so far as to say the loser of that one, I'll say won't have an at-large resume when we get to March.
So that's Monday. Yep. On Tuesday, here's the one that was kind of interesting. Mississippi State at Georgia Tech. Kinda.
Yeah.
Little. Mississippi State 6-0.
Yeah. They get 7-0. It's definitely something, but we expect Mississippi State to win. So we'll see.
The big one, Miami at Kentucky. This is, of course, ACC SEC Challenge. That's a 7:30 Eastern tip, ESPN from Rupp Arena. And then later that same day, also ACC SEC Challenge, Clemson 5-0 at Alabama. Be a hell of a football game. Pretty good basketball game.
That's true. What a good weekend of college football we just had, by the way. It was awesome to see so many of those big-time rivalry games live up to the hype. Apologies to the Auburn fans. That was... I guess you trade the kick 6 for the way that you got beat on Saturday in the Iron Bowl, but good Lord.
At least the kick 6 is like, yo, we've never even seen anything like that. That's outrageous. This was like, how did this guy get open in the back of the end zone like that?
They dropped
4th and goal from the 31.
They dropped 8, and he was
and
on
he just
one-on-one
threw it to him like it was a normal play.
Crazy.
Like he didn't even have to fight for it.
It's just,
I mean, they're literally running out onto the field, and like Gary Danielson is like, and this fella here, he's the tallest receiver on the roster, and you got to have tall guys in there because you're going to have to fight. And instead, it's just like, no, here I am, throw it to me, touchdown, game over, we win. This is the dumbest. How's that happen?
I don't know. That's Auburn fans. You live quite the existence as football backers.
I scare my wife to death. We were driving to dinner, and I had it streaming in the car.
You're on your phone. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the safest way to drive.
Wait, you were driving? Oh God.
Am I about to admit to a felony? What do I need to say? How do I need to fix this?
Yeah, I think.
What do you need me to say?
Yeah.
Is it better for me if I say I wasn't driving?
Yes.
Okay. Of course I wasn't driving.
Okay.
All right. Needless to say, I wasn't driving, but I was in the car with my wife. We were going to dinner, and I was streaming the game. And I ain't got, we've been married for 20 years. We ain't got to talk nonstop,
Yeah, I got you.
So I'm watching. She's doing what she's doing, and I'm watching a game, and it's like quiet. And I went, MFer, he caught it. I like screamed. I couldn't believe it was that easy.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous situation. Hell of a game, though.
Heck of a game, man. Heck of a game. Clemson 5-0 plays at 5-1 Bama on Tuesday. Bama got outclassed by Ohio State, then came back and was able to beat shorthanded Oregon. On CBS Sports Network, Mark Sears at 27. Aaron Estrada continues to look good. Alabama right now, we'll get to them probably on our next episode. Oh, definitely with this game. Right now is just eliminate the preseason bias. Bama is number 1 in offense and 167 in defense for Torvik. That team is one-sided right now. We'll see if they can get that fixed real quick. I also know, and then let's talk Miami, Kentucky. 5-2 Mizzou is at 5-1 Pitt. That also feels almost as urgent as like the Utah St. Mary's one. Missouri would do itself a lot of good if it could go and peel off a road win here after it got one narrowly over Minnesota when it blew it earlier this season. Pitt needs to avoid this kind of home loss to a Mizzou team that doesn't have good metrics right now, if Pitt's going to build toward a second season with an NCAA tournament resume. That one's also on Tuesday. But Miami at Kentucky is the big one. Miami's yet to lose a game. Kentucky is 5-1. It's only lost, of course, in the Champions Classic. And you've got playmakers and athletes all over the floor. I really hope we open Wednesday's show talking about what an awesome game this was, because you're putting Miami in Rupp Arena where it's got the capability to win this kind of game. The question is, who's going to step up and be the guy? Will we see Nigel Pack? Will we see Norshad Omier? Because of Kentucky's lack of interior presence. Wait and see on that. Wooga Poplar has been the expected real breakout guy this season, and damn if he hasn't been that so far. Will he be the guy? And then, of course, with Kentucky, we talked about the roster stuff recently. Is this going to be yet another night where we see the likes of Reed Shepherd or Rob Dillingham show up? Or is it going to be, might it be Antonio Reeves? Might it be DJ Wagner having the first major statement? Might it be Justin Edwards showing up and giving credence to his preseason hype as a potential top 3 pick? So, really intrigued by that one. This is obviously the first year of the SEC ACC Challenge. The ACC Big Town Challenge is no more, and so we'll see how this goes. But this is a pretty tasty one. I'm glad the schedule makers decided to put Canes at Wildcats, because that's a really good one on Tuesday.
What do you prefer, ACC SEC Challenge or ACC Big Ten Challenge?
I almost asked you that, JP. Too early to tell. ACC Big Ten, I'd grown to enjoy it, but I don't have, to be honest, I don't have an issue with changing it up here. Like, there's a Big East Big 12 battle, which is going to give us UConn at Kansas. Oh, by the way, later this week. So as long as we're having these power conferences, have these kind of series where, they take over the TV schedule 2-3 nights a week. I don't know if I have a true preference over one over the other, but how about this? I like the fact that we changed it up a little bit, and it's going to give us Miami at Kentucky, and it's going to give us, oh, by the way, Duke at Arkansas. Next time I talk to you on the pod, at least as planned, I'll be coming to you from Fayetteville. I'm going to go check out Blue Devils versus Hogs. That'll be going down Wednesday, and we will preview that one on our Wednesday AM show.
So are you just going, what, LaGuardia to Fayetteville and back to LaGuardia? Are you doing multiple?
No, I got direct. I think I have direct definitely at least one way. I know I have direct coming back so that I can, I think, barely.
You're just going to Arkansas. You're not going anywhere else.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. First trip to the state of Arkansas?
I have never stepped foot in the state of Arkansas. I'm quite excited. And if there are listeners out there that have a recommendation, as always, if you got a recommendation on a good spot, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, feel free to find me or tweet at the show or whatever. Let me know. But never step foot in the state of Arkansas. Knock another one off the list. I don't know what total I'm at right now, but yeah, I think I'm north of like 34, 35 states I've been in now. Yeah.
I think I'm right around like 39, 40, somewhere in there. I got a friend who had been to 49 states and had never been to North Dakota, something like that, right? And went to North Dakota strictly so he could say, I've been to all 50 states.
Sure.
Would you do that?
I would. One of my cousins, he came by a year ago. He's got 2 kids, middle school age. So he, his wife, and their family, they came by. They came and saw us, and they stayed in Connecticut. They are, as a family, they're going to sleep one night in every single state before their children graduate from high school, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. So they did the whole Northeast tour. They did Connecticut, Rhode Island, they did it over the course of like 10 days. They did all the Northeast ones. They banged that out.
So yeah, I would. So about 10 years ago, the White Stripes, maybe longer, 15 years, probably 10 years ago, the White Stripes did a tour where they wanted to play all 50 states. And so they played in like right by my house. It's like a suburb of Memphis, but that's as deep into Mississippi as they went. They were like, all right, we'll go to a suburb of Memphis. It's technically Mississippi, knocked it off the list. But yeah, that's how the White Stripes ended up playing in Mississippi. They were playing, I believe they tried to play every state or had a goal of playing every state, or maybe I actually did it. If I got down to, okay, here's the real question.
Yeah. You've
never been to Alaska. You've done 49.
Hey, this is great podcasting, and we can squeeze out the end of this this Miami game, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna do this right now. We'll do it both. Map of the United States. Okay, I'm gonna go west to east. Alaska, no.
Oh no, I didn't think we were gonna do this, but go ahead.
Yeah, why not? Who cares? You don't want to do it?
Well, why not? There's a lot of why not. It's like because it must be.
Here we go. I'm gonna find this out right now. Alaska, no. GP, Alaska, yes or no?
Oh, I've never.
Hawaii, no.
Yes.
Okay. California, yes.
Of course.
Oregon, yes.
Oregon, yes.
Washington State, no.
Washington State, yeah, I've been to Seattle.
I've always wanted. Seattle is my number one city that I want to get to most that I've never been to. Idaho, no.
Wait, hold on. Question. Didn't you go to Gonzaga?
Oh, yeah, I did. I did to Gonzaga. That's right. I've already messed this up. I was in Spokane 2 years ago. What am I talking about? But I have not been to Seattle. Thank you, Nada, for fact-checking me in real time. I have been to Washington State. I'm losing my mind. Idaho, I've definitely never been to.
Idaho, no chance.
Utah, yes.
Utah, yes.
Nevada, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona, yes.
Of course.
New Mexico is a no.
New Mexico. Never been to New Mexico.
Colorado is a yes. I was born in the state of Colorado.
How about that? I have been to Colorado, yes.
Wyoming is a no, but damn if I don't want to ski there eventually. I've never.
Wyoming's a no for me.
Montana is a no.
Montana's a no.
Both Dakotas are no's for me.
I've been to South Dakota.
Oh.
I'm a jackrabbit at heart. Never been to North Dakota.
Nebraska is a no for me.
I have been to Nebraska.
Look at you. You're that's 7 no's for me. Kansas is a yes.
Been to Kansas.
Oklahoma is a no for me.
I've been to Oklahoma.
Texas is a yes. Obviously,
Texas
yes.
is a yes.
Minnesota is a yes for both of us.
Minnesota
Iowa is a no for me.
Iowa. I've never been to Iowa.
Same. Missouri. Are we counting Missouri if you've landed at the airport there?
I don't think that counts.
I
think layovers at airports don't count.
That's a good call. So Mizzou, unfortunately, is a no for me. Arkansas is about to be a yes. You've been to Mizzou, right?
Been to Missouri, been to Arkansas.
Yep. Louisiana
is been to both of them on the same trip.
Okay, there we go. Louisiana is obviously a yes. GP, ever been to Mississippi?
I'm here right now.
I know. Mississippi is a no for me. Moving back north. Tennessee is a yes. Obviously, yes for you. Literally by the day. Mm-hmm. Kentucky is a yes. For me, I lived in Kentucky when I was younger. Illinois is a yes. I lived in Illinois when I was younger. Wisconsin is a yes. What about you? I assume all those are yeses?
Mm-hmm.
You been to Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay.
Been to the Kohl Center.
Okay. Michigan is a yes.
Michigan's, yeah, of course.
Indiana. Have you actually ever stepped foot inside Indiana?
Maybe.
Borders?
I've been to Butler. I've been to Indiana. I've been all over Indiana.
They might not let you back. Alabama is a no for me. I'm an
Alabama bunch.
Yes for you. And we'll curl down. Florida. I've lived in Florida. George is obviously a yes for both of us. Shout to Chester, South Carolina. We've both been there. We've both been to North Carolina. I lived in Virginia when I was younger. Yes, you're learning that I've lived in many places. I have never been inside West Virginia's borders. I'm pretty sure of it.
I have been to West Virginia.
You have been to West Virginia. I have not. We have both been to Ohio. And then I can take up the rest of the Northeast. So GP. So I'm at 13. So I've been to 37 out of 13. GP, I'm going to read the rest of the states up here in the Northeast corridor. You let me know where you have not been. Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York, my state of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine.
I could knock out a bunch if I would just really commit to spending a weekend bouncing around the Northeast. I've tallied it up here. I've been to 39 states. The ones that I haven't been to in alphabetical order are Alaska, Delaware, Idaho, Iowa, Maine, Montana, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming.
Yeah, you got to get yourself up to the Northeast here. Some good stuff.
I got to do something.
That was that necessary podcasting? Absolutely not. But
that's one way.
I'll update you. That's
one way to do it.
It's 68-61 Indiana over Harvard with 8:28 to go in the second half. I feel confident and comfortable saying the Hoosiers, you got yourself another win.
Yeah, I'm happy for them. They're going to, I think, keep Indiana State at bay. And they're going to wake up. Was Sunday perfect? Sunday wasn't perfect, but Indiana's going to wake up on Monday morning, and I think at Ken Palm, safely going to be their best team in the state still.
To the people that are undoubtedly going to be like, why on earth did these two idiots literally run through the entire United States?
You know what? Add me to the list of people.
You are on the list. Yeah. I was doing it just to make sure Indiana wasn't losing by the end of it. To be clear, I was trying to string out another 5 minutes to make sure IU was clear, and I'm comfortable saying it is.
Well, hey, how many planets you been to?
If you could go to one other planet in our solar system, what would it be?
Mercury.
I feel, and there's no risk of any kind of any kind of harm to you? You're going to Mercury?
Yeah.
Give me the Saturn. Fascinated by Saturn.
Man.
Yeah. It is time to end this podcast.
Yeah. I like TikTok. I mean, you know,
Let's
to each
go.
his own. Dan Hurley can say whatever he wants, but I like TikTok.
Let's go.
There's some good stuff on there, you know? Sometimes they do some challenges. I like it when people challenge themselves on TikTok. I enjoy it. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry M. Fantigo, legend. Shouts to Huck. Shouts to Larnell. Shouts to Tristan Newton.
Absolutely.
Let's celebrate champions.
Shouts to Fran Dunphy, 600.
How awesome is it that the championship coach is talking about? We don't celebrate champions the way we used to anymore. I love it. If I ever win a championship at anything, first thing I'm doing is start wondering out loud why we don't celebrate championships anymore. I'm with Dan Hurley on this one.
Way to go.
I wish I was a champion. Missed a 6-foot putt today. Cost myself a championship.
What else is new? What do you want me to say?
You know what else is new? What else is new?
I assume every time you boot up and start one of these podcasts that you missed a 6-foot putt earlier in the day or the day before.
You know what? It is typically the way it goes.
Yeah, I'm not. This isn't surprising information.
I 3-putt to lose, and then I just come in here and name what states I've been to.
Exactly. Start talking about it.
How'd you spend your Sunday? Missed a 6-foot putt to push, and then went on a podcast and identified which states I've entered and which states I have not.
I'd be curious to know how many of our listeners have truly slept a night in all 50 states. If you have, shouts to cbs@gmail.com. I want to hear from you.
And congratulations. Shouts to Larnell, Tristan Newton, Dan Hurley, all the champions out there. Thank you guys for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments. So make sure you do that. We're going to talk to you again on Wednesday morning. Till then, take care.